dog too, and he was able to sit down and give love and pet that dog's head.
We all have that ability, the mind, spirit, body experience, and connecting all of those.
In 2020, it seems more so than ever. That's the thing, is like we can't be duped by things that are horrible.
Well, 2020 is the year, I believe, that things will start coming into focus and we will start visioning rightly, if that makes sense, you know.
And we need to press on that, because once the tribes understand that there is a need for intertribal commerce, and for all the 567 federally recognized tribes to come together, not to mention the other tribes who haven't been federally recognized. How bad is that? You know, they need to wait for a federal government to recognize something. It's already stupid, But you know, put that on side. Let's say if those tribes come together for intertribal commerce, the first thing that they need to address is healthcare. So if my health is bad, then I don't care about anything else. So let's come together, fix healthcare with everything that we got, with all the healthcare innovation we can bring in from abroad, including cancer cures from Europe. Introduce the CBD and cannabis and the THC that's required with all the different strands for, you know, OCD, PTSD, help the veterans. Native Americans give off the largest concentration of veterans in the United States on statistics alone. So if you see an elder, a native elder, they're probably a veteran, right?
Right.
So can you imagine a veteran protecting this country, coming back from war and going back to the reservation where there is no clean water, there is no housing. They're waiting 5, 6, 7 years to get a house, and they're homeless and so forth, you know? Nobody's talking about this, right? I never seen anything on Native veterans' situation on CNN. I haven't seen it.
And you don't even hear about there are immigrants who are veterans who went and fought in most recent wars and suffered greatly to come home and have their parents deported. It's just unconscionable.
Yeah, unconscionable.
I mean, but so much of what's going on today is unconscionable, including incarcerating people for cannabis, and including denying them medicine that could actually save their lives, or putting them on poison that could eventually kill them.
You know, as a non-native, but an authorized agent within tribal country, and we have Kano here as a native, who's also an official in Europe. He can attest to what I'm about to say. A native country, if they come together, they can not only create an industry, an economic powerhouse. They can create a currency. They can create their own mint. They can create a country within a country for them to have full control over their destiny. And as a non-native, it's easier for me to see because, well, first of all, my ancestors are Armenian, so we go back more than 12,000 years. So we have been witness to all these civilizations come and go. And when we see the indigenous, I want to say indigenous because it applies to all the indigenous across the world. Okay,
I like that word.
Yeah, I like that too. Or First Nations. There are at least 300 million indigenous people around the world, and everybody's suffering. And imagine you being an indigenous, and all this is happening to you. They steal your land, they rape your women, and everything else, and now you have to.
And they tell you it's for your good.
It's for your good, and then you have to abide by their laws. How
their
bad
religion.
Is that? Yeah, and their religion. So, as coming from my ancestors' standpoint, I have seen genocides before. Obviously, you know, our ancestors were part of a genocide. So, as for myself, it is my kind of a destiny, and also my resolve to stop another genocide from continuing on. So that's my commitment to the indigenous. Beyond that, I mean, let things happen, but that's my commitment to not only that, but economic development, whatever I can do with all the partners that I can create to bring the right people with the right hearts in the right place for them to come together. Speak with Amnesty International, speak with Canadian Senate, local congressmen all the way to the federal government and everybody to really come together to realize that there is a huge elephant in the room.
Oh, yeah.
And nobody's talking
and
about
nobody's talking about
Right.
it. What's the population of the indigenous nations combined?
In
here
the world?
in the States.
In the United States, there are about 3.6 million Native Americans, Alaskan natives.
So
from 180 million.
Here, I like to do this analogy, right? Because we're approximately little over 1% of the population, right?
Mm-hmm.
So we know popular music, right? Billie Eilish just cleaned it up at the Grammys, okay?
Yeah.
She just cleaned it up,
Go
right?
Billie Eilish.
So if Billie Eilish was to sell a record to every Native American directly to that, just Native American populations, she would then set a record that she sold the most records ever.
Mm-hmm.
That's the amount of people that are on this country, and I'm putting it into media because that's what people understand a little bit, right? So if you have Super Bowl and you just recreate that crowd over and over and over, and you add up the numbers, the most popular media in the world has not reached 1%, or has not totally garnered 1% of the United States' attention.
Mm-hmm.
You only need a percentage of that. So the reason I'm saying that is that's the disparity.
Yeah.
Is that we don't realize I literally am 49 years old. I am a Lakota Pueblo Spaniard person, and in my lifetime, I can guarantee I'm going to be asked how I live. Are you in teepees? Do you still have this? And it's relevantly true because, there's still teepees. And yes, we do a rain dance. That should ring true to how sincere some things are. And as you move into the place of, like he said, it's really difficult to be a Native person and watch the powwow that happened last Sunday.
Mm.
Right? And I'm not one that is against, I'm totally with, if you create something, it was hard work.
Mm-hmm.
And you deserve to benefit from the gains.
Right, but not at the expense of everyone else.
And I was going to express that is if you're brought to attention that you're causing a disparity, well, it's your responsibility now to speak to it a little bit.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So now we go to where, like you said, we're in such a beautiful time. We are.
Yeah.
We're in a time where literally the energies around us, nature has put us as humans together, and it's the best time for especially Americans sitting here in Phoenix, Arizona right now. The weather is perfect. I'm going to go sit in a $40,000 vehicle that's air conditioned and drive home. And that's the story of most of us.
Yeah.
But we forget. We forget in those times when you're setting up your Super Bowl nacho plate and you're doing all these things that you don't have to become Mother Teresa, man.
Mm-hmm.
You just have to be awake.
Right.
Yeah.
Please wake up. Wake up. That if CBS is willing to sell us Budweiser, have no problem with that.
Yeah.
Tequila, hey, I'll cheers with you all day, but why? And even them, to their defense, why would a company have to block a cannabis commercial that would help? Because we know that if it's doctor prescribed, me as a musician, I can talk all I want. We can talk Cheech and Chong. We can go to Snoop Dogg, what's up? We're going to smoke 24/7. We could do all that, and nobody's going to hear it that needs to hear it.
Right.
They need the doctor to express and know. And we need the doctors to also, we have to pave the way for them.
Right.
It's hard to get a doctor's degree.
Well, we need to normalize it to the point where people understand its importance.
There you go. Yeah.
And how it's going to benefit them.
Exactly.
You know, from a health perspective, from an environmental perspective, from an economic perspective. So bringing it sort of full circle, because I'm getting a signal that it's time to wrap it up here soon. Mm-hmm. If someone has an enterprise in one of the tribal reservations and they are not going to have to adhere to some of the federal restrictions, they can actually transfer what they're creating, what they're growing, or what they're extracting, their medicinal products from one state to another, as long as it goes within tribal lands. Is that correct?
You want to answer that one?
Yeah, there is precedence being set.
Okay.
And there's communities ready to do that. And really, to sum it up, because I get long-winded and I talk philosophy a lot, but really, you know what's holding it up is cannabis industry and hemp industry won't lay down the money, flat out, just straight up to you guys. And I'm straight up. Tribes are sitting here with resolutions passed, like most of them, and they've sat with cannabis. I'm saying this as a consultant. I've sat with many, brought cannabis companies to tribes that are ready to go. And then at the table, the cannabis company asks the tribe to pay for it. It's literally that simple. That's where we're at.
They would pay for their own company elsewhere, so why would they ask?
Well, I'll add something more.
Please
to that. Do. The opportunity for the outside to come into sovereign lands for them to do business is not for them to avoid something, but for them to create something for future generations. At the same time, a benefit from sovereign lands. Many of the non-natives don't understand tribal law. They're afraid of sovereignty. They're afraid that if they go in and invest into something, then they cannot take it out because it's on sovereign lands. They cannot take them to court. All that, misinformation. When two parties come together, native and a non-native, for a mutually beneficial joint venture, that means so many good things for the tribal people for generations to come. They're not going to trample on a beautiful thing like this. That's one. They want to make this work. Let's look at the 101, what the Salt River has beautifully done. All these lands across 101 are all sovereign Salt River Pima lands. And look at all the thriving businesses that you see, the pavilions and so forth, the aquarium and so forth, right? It's on tribal lands. So if they can do that, being only 10,000 as a population, imagine what bigger tribes can do. And that's the thing. Non-natives need to realize that they are coming into a foreign land. They need to understand the people, their culture, their laws. The best attorney can't hold a candle to sovereignty. In other words, their opinion doesn't matter. Whatever they have gone through as far as schooling goes, all the case studies that they have read, it doesn't apply to sovereign lands. An attorney cannot say you cannot grow cannabis on sovereign lands. Yes, you can. You can transport as sovereign land, so a sovereign tribe. You can do that. Nobody can stop you. The feds cannot stop you. The state cannot stop you. As long as you're transparent, you're fine. The whole point is that we are trying to be as fully transparent as we can to not only to the federal and state governments, but also to potential investors. That there's an opportunity right now in Indian country where it is the last frontier on many things,
right,
including economic development and healthcare innovation.
Right. So when I say talk about capital and I talk about these things, we're not talking about a suitcase full of money.
Yeah.
We're talking about approaching an industry to create the regulations that don't exist. We're talking about paying our own way, basically, together. So if you have a sovereign individual, if I draw, just like he said with 101, that's very unique, and it's a beautiful thing to see that, and I'm anxious to see as years pass how that benefits tribal members, right? And the opportunity lies in, as Vaughn said, is to understand that, yes, you're going into a foreign place, but it's actually your place. It's your country.
Right.
Right? And we're all out to be the best, to do the best. When we do things as a country on a media level, some of the most beautiful interactions happen. When we pull together as a people.
Oh, yeah.
It's amazing the rest of the world.
Yeah, what
right?
we have seen mostly is that there's a lot of greed. And there's a lot of self-serving perspectives on people. Well, what is it for me? How can I get this for free? How can I get that for free? Not realizing that they're going into a place where they need to make the money for them to provide funding for the children's crayons in the chapter because they have run out of money for children. The tribal perspective is different. They want to have this economic development for them to thrive.
Right.
to bring opulence and so forth to help grandma with